got another captain. I can't remember his name. If I looked at the directory, I could tell you who it was.
I've got it on here. It might take a minute to
He
load
was a
up.
captain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was he from? The New York area, or where was he from? Where was he from?
I have no idea.
When I pull up this directory, do you want to see the officers or a company?
Oh, no. Officers, captains.
Okay.
The list of captains.
Okay. Is your vision good? So here we'll scroll. So
Majors.
here's
Okay.
here's
Scroll.
Allen, James S. Anderson.
Scroll up.
Up. Do you want to see majors?
No. I'll scroll down.
Okay. So here's some of them.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Can I scroll?
Oh, here it's this down here. So you can see there's James J. Corbett Jr.
Yeah.
There's Pete Corbett.
Yeah.
Was it Terrence Danilovich?
No.
Mishtow? Basil Mishtow?
Whoops.
Oh, it's okay. Do you wanna scroll anywhere? Or?
Yeah.
So these are all captains.
Yeah.
This next page goes to first lieutenants.
Yeah, I want captains.
Okay, well
There
here
are more captains.
here they are. Here are the rest of them right here.
I'm not sure, but I think it was Ramovich.
Rabinovitz, Moses Rabinovitz
Yeah.
from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I think.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'll leave this up over there so we can use it later.
All I remember is that he was Jewish and had a typical Jewish name.
So go on to tell me about where A Company was at and what you were doing.
And then he had appendicitis and had to go to the hospital. And I think this was around December 6th or 7th or 8th. And Berlin came to us from C Company. He was a first lieutenant. And a couple of days later, we were on the excursion between Etch and Hoven. Do you know much about Etch and Hoven?
Talk all about it.
Well, we were told that we were going to be part of a task force that was going to be the flank guard for a company, two companies, B company and C company, that were going to attack two towns called Geitsch and Obergeitsch. And this was at the start of the Cologne Plains, just as flat as this floor. And they ran into real trouble, and they decided that we would try to move out and capture Etch. Their job was Geitsch, Obergeitsch, and Etch, ECHTZ. And we moved across the field. We got some small arms fire, and there were not too many German soldiers in Etch. I don't know why, but there weren't. And we had a relatively easy time. I think a couple of guys were wounded, and we got into Etch on December 10th. And the morning of December 11th, we were told that we were going to, our platoon, 5 squads.
Second platoon.
Yeah, our squad, I'm sorry, our platoon, 5 squads, were going to mount 5 tanks, and there was nothing left in the next town, Hoven, but clerks and cooks and bakers. And we started out, tanks started out at single file, and then spread out, so each one of them was facing Hoven. We stopped, probably 200 yards outside of Etch, and all of a sudden, zoom, anti-tank guns. And so the tanks started backing up. We're riding on the tanks, and the tank that I was riding on was slow. I don't know why, whether they had a new drive or whatever. And they all of them ran back into Etch. And I said to the guys, let's get off of here and run back, because we could run back faster than the tank was backing up. And sure enough, it was the right decision, because a few seconds later, the tank got knocked out, got hit with an anti-tank gun. we get back into Etch, and we stayed there overnight. Mike Lucas got a bronze medal. He said he didn't deserve it, and I agree with him. The Germans had hobnail boots, and this German soldier evidently got lost, didn't know where he was, and we took turns, 1 hour terms, being on guard duty, and Mike was on guard duty, and Mike said he heard this German soldier walking. His boots were clacking against the cobblestones, and he turned into the gateway where Mike was and said something in German, and Mike fired one shot from his rifle, hit the guy right in his heart, and Mike felt rather bad about it, but hey, it was you or him. But anyway, a friend of his who used to write up the citations wrote up a glorious story how the German was carrying musicians and was, well, anyway.
Yeah.
He elaborated.
What was Mike guarding, and what were you guarding?
What was his?
What were you guarding? You said that you were on guard duty, and Mike was on guard duty.
Yeah.
What were you guarding?
Oh, just to be alert. Just listen. You didn't want 8 guys fall asleep and somebody knock on the door or walk in.
Were you staying in a house?
Yes.
In Etch or in Holden?
Stay in a house with a courtyard around it.
What town?
That was in Etch.
Okay, well, keep going.
Yeah, that was in Etch. The next morning, they decided that the company would attack, the whole company. And we got about halfway across, and they plastered us with artillery and small arms guys, small arms, and that was on the 10th. Excuse me, that was on the 11th. That was on the 11th. The excursion with the 5 tanks was in the morning of the 10th. The next day, the whole company started across in the morning, and we got plastered. This was on the 11th. We tried again in the afternoon and couldn't do it.
Just machine gun fire?
There was machine gun fire, there was small arms rifle fire, and artillery. I said the field between Etch and Hoven was as flat as a pool table, except about halfway across there was a ditch, which we later discovered was a drainage ditch, and there was a road that led from Etch into Hoven, and there was a bridge over that drainage ditch. I happened to be in the drainage ditch when the Germans opened up with everything. So we had to go back. The next day, we were joined by B&C companies and by a battalion from, I think, the 9th Infantry. So what one squad tried to do initially was done by really two battalions. And our artillery fired a TOT. Does that mean anything to you? Time on target. There were different size guns. The velocity of some of the guns were low, like howitzers, went up like this, and then there were guns that had a flat trajectory. Some were over here, some were here, some were there, some were here, and they had it all timed and figured so that they would fire a barrage and all the shells would land approximately the same time. Somebody had a stopwatch they figured it out anyway. And when I watched this, shells were bursting in the air, shells were hitting the ground, and it went on for, I'd say, 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes. And I said to myself, those poor bastards. It's really the only time I ever felt sorry for German. And then we started. We were in the A company was in reserve. And anyway, we got into Hoven, and we had, my recollection, it was either 18 or 19 men killed, and we had quite a few wounded. We lost about 40% of our company during that period of time. 40% of the fighting portion of the company. When we got into Hoven, as I said, our company was in reserve, and we were the last ones in, and our platoon took cover behind a building, but there wasn't room enough for my squad. So the building's like this, whoops, and the enemy's over here. My squad had to be on this side of the building. And Pete Colbert said, okay, let's move out. And he said, you lead because you're around the corner. And Joe Conover was the last guy, and he waved like this. But the first man behind him didn't see it. So it took off 4 of us. Incidentally, we started with 8 men, and we ended up with 4. There was Mike Lucas, Joe Conover, and Whitey, Glencoe Whiting, and myself. And I was leading, and there was a field, maybe a couple 100 feet, ran like the Dickens across there, and there was a road that was sunken below the field. And I was running as fast as I could. I was a fast runner, of course, and boy, of course, I was a fast runner. And I jumped over from the field onto the road. And as I look back to see the fellas with me, a German stood up in the ditch and raised his hands. I had jumped right over him. What do we do with him? We told him, put your hands up and walk back towards the edge. Then the four of us working in teams. I worked with Lucas and Whitey and Connie, Joe Conover, worked as a team, and we leapfrogged from house to house. And we got down to the end of the street, where there was a cross street, and I decided we should not go no further because nobody was behind us. And we checked our ammunition, and no one had more than 3 rounds left. Some of us had 2, I've forgotten who. A tank came up, and we were glad to see the tank. And I asked the commander of the tank, I said, can we borrow a box of 30 caliber ammunition from you? He said, sure. So I sent 2 of the guys back, and they found the clips, and I don't know how many they found, maybe a dozen, maybe 20, and they brought them back, and we loaded the ammunition from the machine gun belt into the clips. So we had a fairly reasonable amount of ammunition, but we didn't need it. We didn't need it because that was as far as we went. And we came back to Holborn. I think it was Holborn, but I'm not sure. But we came back, and they were short of replacements. They didn't have enough replacements to fill in our ranks. So what they did is they took, I think it was about 15 men from D Company and 15 men from G Company to fill our ranks up. And that was pretty quiet after that for 3 or 4 days. And then on December 16th, the Germans started the Battle of the Bulge. And on the 29th of December, we got more replacements. Among them was Buck. He joined us on the 29th, and along with enough to make the company whole. That night, we made a road march. It was a horror because all we had were little lights we called cat's eyes, and it was accordioning. Vehicle would stop, and then this one would stop, then this one would go, and it was a nightmare. I was awake all night, and we got into a town called Houghton, Hotton, and surprisingly enough, I don't know how they did it, but they had hot food for us there.
What day was that?
That would be no, I'm wrong. Buck and that group that joined us on the 29th. But this excursion was...
Because the Battle of the Bulge started, so you had to immediately go there.
No, we didn't go immediately.
Okay.
Part of the division did, but we didn't. I'd say it took 2 days. And the 19th sticks in my mind.
So you got to Houghton.
Yeah. But anyway, we got there, and to Houghton, and my goodness. If I had known you were going to ask all these, I would have tried to refresh my memory. All I know is that Buck joined us on it. Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, well, from Houghton, we went to a town called Ammonine. And from Ammonine, we went southwest. We moved, southeast. And we ran into the 560th Volksgrenadier Division at a curve, and they outnumbered us by quite a bit.
Tell me about that fighting.
Well, it came at a hairpin curve because it was rather steep, and the Germans were on one side of the hairpin curve, and we were on the other side of the hairpin curve, and neither one could move because they would be wide open. And so Captain Berlin I assumed it was Captain Berlin who made the decision, was to go, was on the side of a hill, to go up the hill through a forest and underbrush and circle around behind them. But we started out, we found out that the Germans had the same idea, so we met in the forest, and so they finally decided that we should go back to Ammonine, take a strong position at Ammonine. And so as we started back, I noticed that there was a 61 millimeter mortar on the road, just abandoned there, with a stack of ammunition, maybe 10 or 12 rounds. And I said, I'm gonna use this to help cover the retreat. So I took the bipod off, had someone open the cases in which the ammunition was, had them pull the safety wire off the top, and sat down and figured I had figured the Germans were too close, so we couldn't use the bipod. So I sat down with it and had I guess it was a blanket or, and put my arms around the barrel because I knew it was going to get hot as those rounds were fired. The first round hit a tree, and someone yelled at me, "You're gonna kill us all," because just hitting a leaf, those nose fuses were very sensitive. But let's go back to Fort McClellan. There was a day room in which they had magazines, and one of them magazine was the Infantry Journal. And I had read in the Infantry Journal that if you're not sure with the mortar that you have clearance, don't pull the safety off. Now I said I had somebody pull the safety off, but there are two safeties. So I decided that I didn't know whether I had clearance or not, so I left the safety off the first one, and sure enough, it hit a branch and it would have gone off. And some guy yelled, I don't know who it was, "You're gonna kill us all." And I remember so distinctly. I don't know who it was. I don't know whether it was a captain who sent it or a buck private that said it to me. And I yelled back at him. I said, "Shut up, I know what the hell I'm doing." Those were my exact words. They're burned in my brain. And so I kept working it back until they were all gone. By this time I was all alone, and I took off like a flying bird. And got back into Ammonine, and lines were set up, and times when people had to be on duty was set up. We had our mortar, the mortar in our platoon was there, and we had some flares. And every once in a while during the night, we would send a flare up. We didn't have many flares, maybe a half a dozen. And we felt that would keep the Germans on their toes. While we were in Ammonine, I saved one flare, and we stretched a cord across. You want to go to John?
No, I heard something, so I was gonna close the door because I thought it was
Oh.
coming from. Keep going. So start over that part of the story.
Yeah. We had one flare left, and I decided to stretch it across the road, and so that the flare would fire if somebody tried to cross the road or cross the ditch. Some C-47s had tried to drop some supplies to an outfit called Hogan's Heroes. Maybe you've heard of them. And one of the planes was shot down, and the one of the guys parachuted out. I guess he was a pilot, and because he had his dress uniform on, and he must have been immediate response before they had a chance to do anything. They had to go ahead and fly this mission. And he spent 2 nights in the woods, and it was cold, cold, cold. So he said, the heck with it. He said, the next road I'm coming to, I'm gonna go down it with my hands up. Fortunately, he turned the correct way towards us rather than towards the Germans. And he triggered the flare. And he said it went up in the air. He said he thought he was shot. So, then we were relieved in Ammonine by the 290th Regiment of the 75th Division. They were new. Some of them even were wearing neckties. I'm serious. And we went back to a town. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. And we spent the 29th there, I think. And that's when Buck joined us in that town. If you talk to him, he probably told you about the buzz bomb that, yes. Well, I knew what a buzz bomb was. I heard it, looked up in the sky, and I could see it. And then all of a sudden, boom, the motor cut out. That means it was coming down. So I hit the ground, and it was probably a few hundred yards away, and I bounced. The explosion did. And surprisingly enough, it landed in a field, but there were 2 rows of houses, and the windows in the houses on this side didn't bother, but the windows on this side came out. And the only thing I could figure is that explosion sucked up the air and made like a vacuum. And the windows came out. Not all the windows, but some of them. And on the 31st, we spent a couple of days there, maybe 3 days. Oh, we spent more than that. Spent about a week there. And somebody had a radio, and we listened partially to the Fuhrer making his New Year's Day speech, New Year's night speech, New Year's Eve speech. We didn't last. That didn't last long at that station. Then we turned on to get some music. Let's see, where am I? Okay. We started the counteroffensive, I think it was January 3rd. And we went to a town, I think the name of the town was Bra, B-R-A. And we spent the night there. My squad was in the house with a family, a Belgian family who speak French. And then we attacked a town by the name of, I think it was Lieneux, L-I-E-N-E-U-X, something like that. And there was a girl there, I don't know, 14 years old, something like that, whose name was Mart, which means Martha. And somehow somebody got a pair of skates. They were fancy wooden at the top with the blade underneath, and I gave them to Martha. And I had a sort of interesting experience. It was interesting for me. On the edge of town, there were, oh, let me backtrack, if you will. Because we had so many casualties on the attack on Hogan, the platoon sergeant said, I've had it, no more. And Pete Colbert, the platoon leader, lieutenant, appointed me platoon sergeant.
Who was the old platoon sergeant?
Beg pardon?
Who was the old platoon sergeant?
Who
said he had it? Who was the platoon sergeant that you replaced?
Oh, I can't remember his name. He had been wounded in Normandy and had come back for a short period of time. And I really didn't know him.
Yeah. So what day did you become platoon sergeant? When did you become platoon sergeant?
What about it?
When did you become platoon sergeant?
Why?
When?
Oh, when?
Yeah.
December 13th or 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so keep going.
Yeah. Okay. I was amazed. Here I was 20 years old, leading a group of 95% of them were older than I. But, okay, back to where were we?
January 3rd or 4th.
Oh, yes. Yeah, with Martha. Yeah. I think we attacked Leonard, captured it on the 4th or 5th.
What was that attack like?
We didn't have too much resistance. Small arms fire. There was no artillery. Just small arms fire. And the Germans didn't put up too much of a resistance, as I recall.
Did you go in on half tracks or riding tanks, or were you walking into the village?
Oh, we were walking.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The half tracks were nowhere near. They were probably a mile back. Then we attacked another town, Bra. Yeah. And then from Bra we went to top of a hill, and the 82nd Airborne had tried to take the town that was at the bottom of the hill. It's called Petit.
Petit coup?
Huh?
Petit coup? Was it petit coup? No?
Which would what?
Petit coup? Like petit coup? No?
There were three. There was the main town, there was a Grand,
Sartre?
and there was Petit. Oh God, how could I forget those names? But anyway, it was in a valley, in a sort of a valley, and when we were at the top of the hill, there was a bunch of paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne, and they had tried to capture it, the day before, and I guess had quite a few casualties. And so I can remember, by this time, Pete Colbert, who was my lieutenant, had been wounded. So I was in complete charge of the platoon.
How did he get hit?
Huh?
How did he get hit?
How
did Pete get wounded?
I don't know.
Okay.
To this day.
Yeah.
To this day, I don't. I didn't even ask Pete when I met him after the war how he got wounded. Pete later was seriously wounded. He got a shrapnel out of his hip bone, and had a stiff leg. My mind is wandering.
That's okay. So you became in charge of the platoon.
We got anyway on top of the hill with the 82nd Airborne paratroopers, and Captain Berlin said, "We're going to take this town, and we will see